Major Kira's 5-star Trek, Deep Space Nine Love Interests Explained. Major Kira Nerys is one of Star Trek's most complex and compelling characters. Introduced in Star Trek, Deep Space Nine as a fiery, no-nonsense Byron freedom fighter, she starts the series shaped by decades of war and occupation. But across 7 seasons, Kira evolves into a more nuanced figure, still defiant and strong, but also capable of great empathy, spirituality, and yes, love. Unlike other Star Trek characters whose romantic arcs often felt shoehorned or underdeveloped, Kira's love life was a crucial part of her growth. Her relationships, some fleeting, others long-term, offered rare insight into her personal struggles, political ideals, and emotional healing. From surprising pairings to deeply emotional storylines, here are Major Kira's 5 most significant love interests in Star Trek, Deep Space Nine Explained. 1. Vedic Bareil, the spiritual idealist. Vedic Bareil Ontos was Kira's first major love interest and perhaps the most unexpected. A serene and deeply spiritual Byron cleric, Bareil was a key religious figure in the early seasons of DS9, even becoming a serious contender for Kai, the highest religious office on Bajor. Their relationship was a fascinating juxtaposition. Bareil, contemplative and passive, seemed like an odd match for the passionate and action-oriented Kira. Yet that's what made them work, at least initially. Bareil represented a kind of peace Kira had never known. For someone forged in violence, falling in love with a man of faith and calm offered her a path toward personal healing. But as Bareil became more embroiled in politics, particularly in his support of the morally ambiguous Kai Wynn, cracks began to show. Kira, ever principled, struggled with Bareil's compromises. And when he was fatally injured while negotiating peace with Cardassia, Kira was forced to watch helplessly as he allowed himself to be turned into a machine for the sake of diplomacy. His death was a heartbreaking moment that revealed the emotional cost of war, duty, and compromise. Kira never fully recovered from it, but it also made her stronger. 2. Shakar Edan, the Resistance Comrade. Shakar Edan, a former Byron resistance leader turned political figure, was a man from Kira's past who re-emerged with intimate familiarity. Their relationship felt natural from the moment it was introduced. Both were freedom fighters who had shared trenches and ideals. When they reconnected, the chemistry was immediate. Shakar was more than just a former comrade in arms. He symbolized the Bajor Kira had fought for. When he became Bajor's first minister, it added another layer of complexity to their relationship, but unlike Bareil, Shakar was never portrayed as compromising his values. Their romance was built on mutual respect, history, and shared trauma. Yet it lacked passion or narrative momentum. The writers eventually phased it out off-screen, with Kira quietly mentioning in Season 7 that they had broken up. In some ways, that understated ending was appropriate. Shakar represented an important chapter in Kira's life, but not her future. 3. Odo, the long-awaited slow burn. No love story in DS9 was more slow burn, complex, or emotionally satisfying than Kira and Odo's. Their dynamic was a masterclass in character development. Starting as contentious colleagues with wildly different worldviews, she a passionate former terrorist, he a logic-driven, order-loving shapeshifter, they evolved into a partnership built on trust, admiration, and unspoken longing. For years, Odo pined for Kira in silence, convinced that his alien nature made him unworthy. Kira, meanwhile, remained unaware or unwilling to confront the depth of his feelings. This emotional tension reached a breaking point in episodes like Children of Time, where Odo from an alternate future confessed his love to her, and His Way, where he finally acted on it. Their romance wasn't easy. Odo's insecurities, Kira's emotional scars, and the chaotic nature of war made things complicated. But in the later seasons, they found their way to each other in earnest. Their kiss in His Way remains one of DS9's most cathartic moments. In the series finale, Odo ultimately leaves Kira to rejoin the Great Link and heal his people. It was a painful but beautiful ending, a reminder that love sometimes means letting go for the greater good. Kira's final, silent farewell as Odo disappears into the mist is among the most poignant scenes in the franchise. 4. Mirror Universe Beryl, the rogue reflection. Kira's mirror universe counterpart, Intendant Kira, was a twisted, power-hungry version of herself, and interacting with her gave the real Kira frequent opportunities for uncomfortable self-reflection. But things took an even stranger turn when Mirror Beryl entered the picture. This version of Beryl was no serene cleric. He was a thief, a conman, and a man who had little resemblance to the spiritual leader Kira once loved. Initially, this alternate Beryl tried to manipulate her, pretending to be more like his Prime Universe counterpart. But despite her suspicions, Kira allowed herself a brief emotional opening. Their connection was brief and more symbolic than romantic. Kira wanted to believe that even in another universe, Beryl could be a good man. But when his true motivations came to light, she realized that her hopes were misplaced. This encounter reminded Kira of how much she'd grown and how difficult it was to recapture something that had been lost. 5. Captain Benjamin Sisko, the unspoken possibility. While never a formal romantic interest, Sisko deserves mention here, not because of a canonical relationship, but because of the emotional intimacy he shared with Kira. Throughout DS9, their bond deepened from wary alliance to genuine friendship and mutual reliance. There were moments, particularly early in the series, where hints of tension, admiration, or even potential attraction flickered beneath the surface. But the writers wisely never pushed this angle. Instead, Sisko became a spiritual guide, a military superior, and a confidant. In many ways, he was the only person Kira trusted with both her professional and personal struggles. Their relationship illustrated something rarely depicted in Star Trek, a deep, emotionally rich friendship between a man and a woman without romantic entanglement. Still, had the writers chosen a different path, it's not hard to imagine a world where Sisko and Kira became something more. The foundation was always there, built on mutual respect, emotional vulnerability, and shared burdens. Honorable mention: O'Brien and Kira's surrogate bond. Though purely platonic, the strange pseudo-romantic situation between Kira and Chief O'Brien during Season 5 deserves a nod. When actress Nana Visitor became pregnant, the writers cleverly wrote it into the show by having Kira carry the O'Brien's baby after an accident endangered Keiko's pregnancy. As Kira moved in with the O'Briens, the story walked a tightrope of awkward intimacy. O'Brien's growing affection for Kira was subtle but evident, and though nothing came of it romantically, the situation was emotionally loaded. In the end, the storyline added another dimension to Kira's character. She became part of a family unit she never asked for, navigated it with grace, and exited with dignity, another moment of quiet growth. Why Kira's love life mattered. Kira Nerys wasn't just a strong female character, she was a fully realized person. Her romantic relationships were not just side plots, but essential components of her character arc. Each partner reflected something different about her. Beryl showed her a path to peace. Shakar reminded her of her past. Odo challenged her heart and taught her to be vulnerable. Mirror Beryl tested her ability to see good in darkness. Sisko stood as a constant, if platonic, pillar of support. Often,